What's up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph Brocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And Brograph, if you haven't heard of the show before and you're just joining us, it's a supplement to our site, Brograph.com, where we have lots of motion graphics stuff. It's a motion graphics site with tutorials, plugins, podcast, obviously, another MoGraphy stuff. On the podcast, we talk about motion graphics, Cinema 4D, After Effects, plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man.
It's mostly taxes. This is really a tax podcast.
Yes, welcome to the... No. I'm not looking forward to that because that's the only thing about the holidays, man. As soon as the holidays are over, it's time.
I have been dreading taxes. And we're selling our house, which hopefully we sign on Thursday, and it's like, okay, so now we won't have that deduction that we can have, and anyway.
Well, you'll still have it for this year.
Yeah, I don't know. Does that actually work? Because
you had the house all year.
Yeah, but technically, I'm not paying the taxes on it or whatever, right? Because when you sell your house, it goes over to the other people. They pay all the taxes. I don't know.
From this point forward, I think you'll be able to write it off.
Let's hope so.
You tell them when you sold it, and you get they probably prorate it.
Okay, well, let's hope so. I'm still dreading taxes. I have a feeling I'm going to owe a lot of money.
We're probably going to owe some money, I'm sure, but I think it'll be okay. We got some good write-offs this year.
Yeah.
We just built a ginormous machine.
$5,000 machine.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good point. You know, that'll be part of it. And so I hope everybody had a good Halloween. We did. We had tons of people at our place, like hundreds and hundreds of people
at your house.
Streets. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, just the neighborhood. Dude, some of these houses were nuts. I don't know if you saw my live Facebook video I was doing.
I saw it for like a split second.
Dude, there's a lot of houses that were extravagant. This one I was at was insane. Just like a wonderland of Halloween, but man, it's so old school, and all these people are everywhere, and people are lining up all the way down the sidewalk to your door, and you're just going as fast as you can to fill buckets with candy.
Wow.
It's really kind of
Did you have any candy left over?
I did, because
we should meet up and we can make a trade for the candy and the Crystal Pepsi.
Yeah, because I don't need all this candy. And the problem is we buy so much candy every year, and usually we go through it, and every year what we're not realizing is Emily trick-or-treats more, so we end up passing out candy for less time. But we keep buying more candy. So and then this year we made the mistake of Christy went and bought candy, and then I went and bought candy, and we didn't really know exactly how much we had, and we had a lot left over.
Yeah, I've normally got candy sitting around. So basically we've got 3 jars at our house. Valentine's Day candy, Halloween candy, and Christmas candy. So whenever and basically those jars are always filled with one of those. It's really gross, because we, after Halloween, from Halloween to Christmas time, I normally eat a bunch of candy, but that's like the big candy season. So you get so much more candy than you could possibly consume, and be healthy. So and Valentine's Day, I just don't eat candy.
I just put it in a big, huge candy dish, and it becomes the Christmas candy.
Nice.
So, yeah. I mean, we bought $200 worth of candy.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It must be nice having $200 to blow on candy.
Well, it's because, it wasn't quite 200, but Christy spent like $85. Jeez. And I spent like $80-something.
I remember the first time you and I, when we were working together, and the first time, it was the first Halloween that I knew you, we went to Costco at lunch, and you bought like 5 giant bags of candy. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, like you're spending a ridiculous amount of money on candy.
Yeah, I remember that. And that year it was all gone. Every bit of it. There were still people coming, and I'm like, I'm out of candy. I don't have any left.
That's so crazy. Do you give them one piece, or do you give them handfuls?
No, like we give them like 3 a piece.
See, there's your downfall. You could be cheap and stingy like me and just buy like 1 or 2 bags. Just give them 1 at a time.
Nah. They come a long way up the drive. They got to get more than like a little cube of Snickers bar. You know, we get a little variety. We mix it up. You know, so well, we did get through all the Simpsons episodes,
good
the Halloween episodes, which I think we talked about that on the show.
I don't know,
the tradition.
I think so. Yeah. So
Watching
basically,
every episode.
Yeah. If you didn't hear that episode or whatever, basically, so there's how many seasons now? 27 seasons.
27, but they didn't start until season 3.
Season 2. It was 2.
And there's an extra Halloween episode in season 27.
Yeah, season 27. So basically you watch every single episode, 27 episodes throughout the month, you know, each day you start with a new episode.
Yeah.
And then finish it by the end of Christmas or end of Halloween. So,
and then if you get lost or you're not sure if you're caught up, you just look at what day it is, and that's where you need to be. So it's kind of a fun tradition to have. This is the first year I really got all the way through all of them. Usually I get close, but
you know, so like you and I have been watching it while on Skype, and I have to say, you know, I know you're a huge fan of old school Simpsons, and so am I. You know, the quotes are a part of my everyday, you know, vernacular. And but like honestly, like, so I started watching all the new episodes, and you know, back in the day when they were on reruns and you'd be like, oh man, I've never seen this episode before, and you get so excited. You know, that's how it is right now. I'm like at that point where it's like, oh my gosh, this is a new episode, and like I honestly think they're still just as good. Like I find myself gut laughing several times, and it's more so much at what like the stupid things Homer says versus like anyone else.
I don't know. He's not the same as he used to be. Man, I still think like seasons 1 through 10 are the best, and the rest of it's I don't know.
I feel like the early episodes they definitely weren't. They definitely just had like a basic storyline and wasn't really going for like current events or political humor or whatever, you know. And now it's much more. They've got much more current event things going on, because I guess it's because they're not taking so long to do an episode, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know, but I really like it. I think it's great. I think they're really good.
Yeah, but October went by way too fast, because it's my favorite month of the year, and it went way too fast for me. I feel like I didn't do enough Halloween stuff, and Halloween felt really short, and I don't know. I feel it's because we were working so much.
We have been working like crazy.
And I mean, that's really what it is. Like, we haven't had weekends. We've been traveling. It's just been, I mean, which is great. It's a great problem to have, but we're trying to kind of get through this really, really tough season, especially as a company now, where
we're trying to grow, you know, and you gotta bust your butt in order to grow. So, and our first year we've grown, you know. Yeah,
for sure. But we're at that weird place. I think we've talked about it before, where like we're not quite ready to hire somebody, but we're using contractors a lot, and
especially this past month.
Yeah, and some of the stuff too. It's like you get certain clients, and you're like, I really don't want to lose this client, so I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to contract this job out, even if I don't make any money off of it.
Yeah.
Because I want to have this person as a client. And then some of it, like, we've just had to turn down. Like, I had to tell some people this week on the phone, like, they were really enthusiastic. They looked at some stuff. They wanted to get started. And I'm like, well, before we really get into this, you got to tell me when you want this done, because we don't have anything available for the next 3 weeks. And I was like, oh, I can't do that.
You know, that actually brings up a really good topic that maybe we could either wait and once we get into the topics, or we could talk about it now. Because we've got a couple of clients who bring us a very small amount of work every month. You know, it's maybe a couple $100 here and there. It's really not a lot of work.
Like, here's this real simple thing. Can you do this real fast? Yeah.
And so, like, the reason I kind of keep them around instead of, like, pushing them off to someone else or saying, hey, this is because I keep on hoping for that big fish project that they've got, you know?
Right.
And it's like, so with that, when you're growing as a company, at what point do you push them away and say,
so you just let them go?
Yeah. At what point do you let them go and say, okay, you're never going to bring me a big fish?
Well, and it's also because you've had them as a client forever. That's another thing too. And it's just kind of like, they're just around, and plus they get a better rate because they've been around at that rate for such a long time. And it's just like, I mean, it's true though. At what point do you just kind of let them go? I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with letting a client go in that situation. If you're doing all sorts of other work, you just got to say, look, I don't have time to do this unless you want to wait, or you can say, we're going to have to raise our rates, or
see, and that's a whole nother conversation. Like, what do you think is the best way to go about saying, hey, we're going to raise our rates?
Right.
Like,
right. That's tough to do.
Especially with someone who you've been with for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think, it's possibly easier to let a client like that down by just saying you don't have time right now, because first of all, it kind of puts it in their head that you're busy, but second of all, maybe they will find somebody else and it won't be a big deal and they'll just kind of go away on their own.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to fire them because it's not that type of situation. It's not the type of situation where you're mad at a client or something. It's just like, look, we appreciate everything you've done over these years. That's why we keep doing these little odd jobs for practically nothing. But
yeah,
it's like a tough one.
Some of these jobs, it's almost not even worth it just to drive out to where they are,
Right, exactly.
And I keep on doing some of these jobs in hopes that they're going to bring us something big. But the more and more I think about it, the more I realize that some of these people are just, they've never brought anything big,
Yeah,
I don't
know. Yeah, that's a toughie. And some of them,
getting in the minds of clients are hard sometimes,
Well, and the other good thing, too, is that, like, there's one guy I said the same thing to this week, and then he was like, well, that's fine, because, I think by the time we get to this point and then we do this, it will be a few weeks, so, yeah, we can wait. They're not in a rush. I'm like, okay, good. Yeah. Because then things will slow down and we'll have a good gig here. And, I mean, I've rarely turned down work.
Yeah.
But it's just that point. It's just at that point, you've got to turn it down if you're working on big stuff.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually turned down any work this year.
No, I don't think so.
As small and mundane as some of it's been, we've actually taken it on every single job. And even at the points where we were crazy busy this month, we're like, sure, we can do it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, but a lot of that too is because we could work on it with other people, like with contractors, or we could pass a small project to a contractor or something. But the one this week, I'm like, he even asked me, he's like, do you know anybody else you could recommend? I'm like, man, I got to tell you, literally everybody else right now that I know of is working with us on this one big particular project. And I've contracted all of my friends except the ones that have full-time jobs. So he's like,
then
all
again,
right.
Some of the ones who have full-time jobs as well.
But you're right. We're also contracting like companies on top of that with what we're doing, because it's just, there's so much we have to get done, which is a great thing. But we are still thinking about how we're going to move forward. And it's a really difficult time to judge that, because we're booked through Christmas. We're booked through the end of the year, essentially, already.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we don't know where that's going to go January 1st.
Yeah.
Because of the way that the season works out and the holidays work. It's like, are we in just kind of an up period because everybody's getting ready to do nothing for Christmas? Is January going to be just as slammed? We don't know. If this was like March or April, I think it would be a better way to judge and say, hey, we got to hire somebody.
Yeah. But I agree.
It's not a good time to make that decision for us, unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's interesting.
Hey, when did you start? At what point last year did you jump off and do the business full time? Have we hit your 1 year anniversary?
Yes.
All right.
Because I'm pretty sure it was in October.
All right.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for 1 year now.
I have been completely void of the man for a year.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
Feels good, bro.
Yeah, it does.
Feels good, bro. Yeah, so Difficult, but things going well. We also sold quite a few plugins.
Yeah.
This week I noticed, like it's been up.
I'll tell you, it's because I mentioned it. I mentioned it last week on the plugin.
Do you think it's listeners?
On the podcast? Yeah, I think it's listeners. I think because you offer the Are You a Podcast Listener? I think they all are. So shout out to everyone who bought the plugin this week. We just had someone from France buy it. We had someone from Germany. It's really cool. Like,
it's cool seeing where
we're international, baby.
We need to do a call out too and just remind everybody, if you do buy the plugin and you do something with it, send us a link to it, because we do eventually want to have the reel of stuff people have done with it.
Yeah.
We know there are some bugs very with minor
R18 bugs. So mostly with the Quick Sky, right? Is there something with the Spotlight as well?
No, it's just the Quick Sky.
Just the Quick Sky.
I think all it is the one thing now, because with the update,
you know what? I tried it earlier, and I don't know what's going on with it. It gave me an error again. So anyway, basically the Quick Sky, when you're using the exterior or interior or studio. Basically
outdoor works,
yes. But basically we are, because we're linking those to ones that we know everyone will have, which are some of the ones included in your version of Cinema 4D. So my workaround that I've been doing, because I still use Quick Sky like crazy, and I'm using R18, and I haven't fixed it. My workaround is just do the custom sky and then throw one of those HDRIs in.
Yeah.
Or work with, the outside if you're just using it for modeling. And really that's the point.
That really is the point. It's not supposed to be used for
even
full production anyway.
Even though I do.
Yeah. It's mainly for modeling or just kind of taking a look at something, but we will get that fixed. So we just got to get through our crazy time here so we can get that taken care of. And
maybe January may be the month of tutorials.
Because I sure hope so. I'm hoping for a little lull to do
this.
Bulk.
The next 2 months, there's going to be a bunch of big, changes. Like Cycles is coming out November 15th, I believe it is, and I got a feeling. I haven't heard official word on this, but I have a feeling Redshift is going to be out before the end of the year.
Let's hope so. That'd be cool.
So if that happens, we would love to be able to do some new tutorials on all of that.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to get on that Redshift bandwagon when it happens.
Oh, man. It is great.
Matt Gerard said, Luminous rocks, using the Quick Sky constantly.
Awesome.
Thanks for purchasing. And check that out. It's in case you don't know what it is, it's our spotlight for Cinema 4D Octane, because Octane doesn't have a spotlight.
Yep.
And mainly that's what it's for, is a spotlight, but there are other things in there too. There's like an IES tester, there are some soft boxes and ring light, and what else is in there? We got the Quick Sky.
Yeah, the Quick Sky and the Cyc Wall. And the best thing about the spotlight, though, is the gobos. Other than the fact that you finally have a spotlight in Octane, but you've got the gobos as well, which we have ported over to the standard renderer, and hopefully we'll be releasing that soon as well.
And I've been using the plugin a lot lately, just on every project. It seems like I'm using a spotlight for something.
I use it.
Very convenient.
I use it for. I don't use IES. I hate IES and Octane. I always have.
Yeah, me too.
Because it just creates a bunch of gobbledygook
noise.
Yeah, it's tons of noise. So anytime I'm doing recessed lighting, or I need the look of a light going out of a lamp or something, I'll almost always use a spotlight.
Yeah. So we do have to warn you too. This is going to be kind of a shorter episode than usual because, we've been working a lot and don't have that much to talk about. But also, we got a lot coming up next week, and we're actually going to have an episode that we're recording on Thursday.
Yeah,
because we're going to be out of town. So I'm not sure when we're going to post that. We'll probably post it Friday.
No, we could post it Sunday. Post it Sunday.
We're going to be driving home at like midnight on Sunday. I guess we could post it on Monday.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
I don't know. If you guys want to hear a twofer this week, let us know.
Well, it'll either be Friday or Monday, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out. I had a weird card reader issue today.
Oh, yeah?
And I just wanted to mention it because I thought it might be applicable to some people. And it all started because I actually thought it was a Lightroom problem.
Oh.
And I put a bunch of stuff before I left onto Dropbox, and I was out of town, and I was in the hotel, and I had some time, and I was like, hey, I think I'm going to do these photos from going to the pumpkin farm the other day. And so I start loading them up in Lightroom, and they looked fine at first, and once it created the actual raw file preview, it turned into garbage, like gobbledygook. And I'm like, that's weird.
Mark this as a history and Brograph podcast. We have both used the term gobbledygook.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess maybe these got corrupt on Dropbox, which seems weird, but okay.
Yeah, that does
so
seem
I go
weird.
back home. I look at them at home, and like they're not corrupt in the same way. And one of them comes up and one doesn't. I'm like, that's weird. So I still had the card reader plugged in on my home machine. And so through TeamViewer, I went in and I went to that reader and I looked at them, and then they were coming up garbled, but in a different way. And sometimes you would copy them, and sometimes they would look okay, but the other ones wouldn't.
Weird.
Or they would have different gobbledygook. And then later, one would copy and look good, and one wouldn't. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So I was like, all right, well, I'll do some research. And then, of course, everybody's saying, oh, that means your camera's screwed up. I'm like, great, my 5D is screwed up. But I did realize that the card reader, it's a USB 3 card reader. It's plugged into a USB hub.
Is that the USB 3 that I bought?
Yeah.
And left it in there? Okay. Because that's brand new.
I know. And it's a good one. It's hard to find a good CF reader because they're always so crappy. One of two things usually happens. They're flimsy, and so they'll just be real crappy, and the thing won't stay in there, or it'll keep saying that it ejects. Even though you're not even touching the stupid thing, or a pin will get slightly bent. Or the other thing that will happen is all the time, for some reason on these readers, something about its USB 2 or USB 3 capacity will stop working and only like works on USB 1 level, and all of a sudden it doesn't transfer faster, and and so all of a sudden it doesn't transfer fast anymore. It's so weird. Like, these things all break down like this. And so I'm like, hey, this is a solid reader. This is like a good reader. I think this is actually going to work for a while. And I plug the thing in, and it's not working. And I'm like, that's weird. So I took it out of the USB hub that it was in and plugged it right into the computer, and all my raw files were fine.
Weird.
Such a weird thing. Like, what about that would make the file readable, and the thumbnail readable, and the JPEGs readable, but once you actually tried to pull in the color information from the raw file, then it would screw up.
Weird. Maybe it was a hub.
That's what I'm saying. It had to be the hub.
Yeah, had to be.
As soon as I plugged it in somewhere else, it was totally fine. So
weird. I ever tell you about the day Gibson was born? So I had my T3i that I was using to shoot all my pictures and stuff. And, when we were going to the hospital, I just grabbed a random card, SD card. Turned out the card was corrupted, and I lost just about every picture that I took of him his first day being born.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That sucks. Like, I was so paranoid about that.
The first time of us holding him, our first picture as a family.
Did you try recovery stuff on that?
Yeah, didn't work.
Man.
I have like a preview JPEG that's about wee tiny, and that's about it. So,
man, I actually, because I had some card reader, some like particular card brand and card reader problems, I actually went through when Emily was born, and I took some pictures and plugged it into the reader to make sure it didn't corrupt. Because when when it corrupts, it's when you plug it into the reader. Plugged it into the reader, it was fine. Made sure I did that. I put the photos, like, I'm talking like maybe 30 minutes after she was born, I was uploading those pictures to my computer.
Yeah.
And then put them onto a separate drive just in case, and gave it to my parents and said, hold on to this.
That doesn't surprise me about you.
Man, I'm so anal about that.
If we ever have a kid again, like, it's all the pictures are going to be taken with my phone, and that's going to be it. You know, I'm not going to bring. I'm so over the DSLR. You know, because my phone takes good pictures.
Yeah, but I have some really cool pictures though from that,
and I'm also a big proponent of the vertical recording. I'm the only video person you will ever meet who ever says it is totally okay to record vertically.
Why?
Because
it's awful.
Because here's the thing: if the iPhone lens was actually like, so you take a picture, right? And so grab your phone. Everyone, do this unless you're driving. Then don't. But grab your iPhone, look at it, and then as if you're taking a picture. Now switch it over to video and see how much it zooms in, how much it crops off, you know? Which is ridiculous how much that happens. So, like, you would have to be really, really far away in order to get a head-to-toe body shot of, like, your kid or something doing something. And most of the time, whenever you're actually watching something, you always have your phone vertically, you know? So there's no reason why I would need to record it horizontally unless I wanted it to go onto my TV. And which I don't ever put my stuff on my TV. 90%.
I view a lot of stuff on my TV.
95% of the time whenever I'm looking at video or sending, video to someone, it's always from my phone.
Vertical video syndrome, man.
It didn't bother me at all.
You should have seen me at Disney World. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Dude. I mean, the backpack and the camera with the 5D and the multiple lenses and the GoPro strapped to me.
If you think just Disney World is where you do that, you've obviously never been on vacation with you.
I did that big time up in
Vegas,
in Iceland.
Yeah. You did that in Vegas too.
Vegas? Oh yeah.
Yeah, because we had all of our gear and we were going to do interviews and we were doing the whole podcast there.
Oh, that's because we were doing actual, like kind of work stuff. But.
And I've been thinking about this, and I think at NAB next year, or maybe even SIGGRAPH next year, because we're totally going to SIGGRAPH next year. I don't know if you know this or not, but I've already determined we are. But at NAB next year, we should do a podcast every night, maybe not like a 2-hour one, but like maybe...
We won't be there that long either.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, I'm never going back to Vegas for more than 3 days tops.
Yeah. So, or we could do one like 30 minutes and have a different, guest on the show each day.
Yeah.
That would be fun. That would be really fun.
A panel would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'd love to do a panel. That would be cool.
Yeah.
So, anyway, those are just my ideas.
So we got some Octane stuff to do here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. There was an Octane update this week, for one.
Yeah. Did it do anything important?
I didn't go read all the release notes on it. I do know that I saw that Ahmed said that it actually fixed a couple issues, but I don't know what those were.
Okay.
I just saw him saying that on Facebook, and then... The thing, though, is that we're not updating. We're trying to stick in 3.0, 3.3 right now, because with our network rendering and everything, we're trying to just stay at that until we get some projects done.
Yeah.
Or until, like, the next... The problem is, and I don't know if we've probably not talked about this.
Yeah, with network rendering, you have to have the same version of the Cinema 4D plugin as you do the standalone version on your other computer. I actually don't think you have to have the Cinema 4D version on whatever render node. It's only just the standalone version, but they have to match.
Oh yes. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yes. But they do have to match in that case. So we're sticking with that until they all match. The standalone, because the Cinema 4D version is always a little bit behind the standalone, so we're waiting until that catches up to do the next upgrade for network rendering. And then the big news, of course, is that Unity is going to come standard with Octane starting in the next version.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And so that's a big thing that everybody's been talking about this week. And There's a YouTube video we'll post. It's Jules Urbach of Octane.
Otoy.
I'm sorry, of Otoy, talking about Octane in Unity. And so that's really cool because it's going to implement the ORBX stuff. Mm-hmm. So essentially, I guess theoretically, what you'll be able to do is instead of a 4D, you can export ORBX already. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like if you want to export ORBX and bring it into the standalone, you can do that already. Mm-hmm. Which I've done a couple times, just played with that. But now you'll be able to bring that straight into Unity. So everything should already be textured and
that's cool,
ready to go, essentially. And, I mean, you might not know programming, but you could bring it in there and then just save it as some sort of file and
get your banana for scale and
yeah, put on your headset and go at it. But I'm wondering how that's going to work though, because this is more about like for at least for like Samsung and the smaller VR, it's about rendering kind of like it renders the different views. So like if you moved your head to the right or left and it sees that parallax, like all of that is rendered, but you're not moving around in it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of just rendering that. I don't know exactly how this works. I'm gonna have to register and play with it.
Yeah, I mean that seems weird to me how they're gonna get it to work on like one of the Samsung VRs, because like, I mean, crap, we just spent $5,000 on a machine so that it can run Octane really fast,
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, rendering out these still files.
Yeah,
that's how it's working. It's doing these stereoscopic, cubic, or spherical unwraps for each eye, and then it's doing them for kind of like tilting or moving your head for parallax, and I think that's all it does. Mm-hmm. It's not like you can sit there and move around a scene in Octane, because that would be Brigade. That's not Octane. That would be their other thing that they haven't done yet. And my first question, of course, was, well, what about Unreal Engine? Because they have been saying they're developing that plugin for Unreal Engine for a long time. And they haven't really talked about Unity.
Yeah, I don't know.
And actually,
I mean, I think they just don't announce anything until it's, I don't know. They got this. I kind of got into it with Otoy on Twitter.
Well, the other day. Jules Urbach actually said on Facebook that the UE4 plugin is not affected by this. So they're still doing that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because Otoy was saying on Twitter when I was kind of going back and forth with them, that they've got each of their own individual teams working on each individual plugin, not whole groups of teams. Which, I mean, that's understandable.
It's understandable, but I saw like what you were giving them a hard time, and they were like coming back and saying, talking about their roadmap and this and that, and people were like chiming in on it. But really, what it came down to was that what you and I think somebody else on Twitter said is that we just feel like we're left in the dark all the time, and we don't know what's going on. That's really all it is.
I was saying their roadmap, they're like, oh, well, we're halfway through our roadmap, blah, blah, blah. And I looked up their roadmap, their proposed roadmap, and 3.1 should have been released by the end of the summer. And I'm like, dude, if you guys are only halfway through your roadmap, man, it's going to be a long time before you release 3.1.
Yeah, it'll be next summer.
By that time, Redshift will have already kicked y'all's butt.
Right, exactly. And it's not that people are upset that it's taking long. It's that if your roadmap has changed in your release time, why don't you just come out and say, look, we're updating our roadmap. This is where we are, and now we expect to come out on this date instead of this, or this quarter instead of this quarter. You don't have to have an actual date. Just give us a relative time. We understand what it takes. We're not complaining that you're taking time to do. We understand that there are roadblocks, that things happen, that you have, you think you can do something and you can't. You have to figure something out. You have to hire somebody to fix a problem. We get that, but just tell us what's going on.
Yeah.
Because we're interested in finding out. Usually...
I mean, crap, we run a podcast where we're talking about you guys basically every single podcast. The least you could do is, like, be a bit more transparent about, when things
just
are
transparency.
Being yeah, totally.
It's just transparent. We just want to know, hey, what's going on? How come you guys said you were going to release Octane 3 and you haven't released Octane 3 and it's been a year since it was supposed to be released and you haven't said anything, And we sat there since we started the podcast talking about when Octane 3 is going to come out, and it took forever, and we were just essentially in the dark as people who already own multiple copies of it and are trying to think ahead about our business and what we want to do with it and what kind of gear we want to buy. And should we wait on this thing or not wait on this thing because we might want Octane 3 at this point? Like, just let us know.
Yeah.
If it comes to the point where, like, Octane 4 is supposed to be out, but there's also Redshift.
Yeah.
And Octane 4 was supposed to be out a year ago. Maybe I'll just buy Redshift. If I knew Octane 4 was going to come out and it was delayed and it was going to come out next month, I might reconsider.
Right. I mean, yeah, Cycles comes out, next week? I think it looks pretty nice. I don't know. I mean, for $200, yeah, I'll give it a try. And Redshift, the cool thing about Redshift that I found out this week is... So you buy it it's either $500 to $600, depend on whether you want a node locked or a floating license. And that includes every plugin, like every plugin that they have made and every plugin they will ever make. Yes. And like Redshift isn't just its standalone thing like Octane is, it is specifically plugins for every single thing. And so if you're using 3ds Max, if you're using Maya, if you're using Cinema 4D and soon Houdini as well, it's there. And even stuff, the like the betas and the alphas that they're releasing before the actual release of other stuff, you get to try those out as well, which is great. So
yeah.
I don't know.
So let's talk about that. I haven't had a chance to play with it. Tell me what you think about it so far.
Okay, so
the beta.
I don't know about how much I'm allowed to talk about it, but I will a little bit. So basically, I wanted to get my hands on it. This is a story of how I got my hands on Redshift. Right. So I've been seeing a bunch of stuff, and I was like, man, I don't know if I want to spend the $500 or $600 now just to try it out. They don't have a trial thing for it. I've been seeing the stuff that Chad Ashley's been posting, and oh my gosh, like I want to get my hands on another GPU renderer.
Well, he's posting about it, so you must be able to talk about it.
So, I mean, they say they ask you not to say too much outside of the forums and stuff. So anyway, I went online, I was looking through their forums and stuff, and I saw a download link, and I was like, oh, sweet, maybe I can download it, So and then it's like, oh, no, you cannot. You are forbidden because you do not have an account. You haven't bought it. So I was like, you know what? It doesn't hurt. I'm going to email him. So I emailed him, and I said, hi, my name's Matt Milstead from the podcast Brograph.com.
That's funny.
I was Schmoozy Matt, and I said,
Matt.
I've been seeing some really good stuff coming from Chad Ashley on the Redshift for Cinema 4D. I'd love to give it a try. 20 minutes later, they sent me a trial for it and like an activation thing. I was like, heck yeah. So the trial has an expiration date, which is cool. And so, I get to try it out. I get to try it at its full res, not with a watermark or anything like that. And that's another cool thing. If you download, once the Cinema 4D version is out, you can use it as much as you want. It's fully like working totally, except it renders out with a watermark, and that's it. There's no limitations to like samples or lights or something like that. It's like fully working, which is awesome.
And how much is it going to be?
$500 to $600. It depends if you want a node locked or a floating license. Yeah. But you don't have to buy the extra plugins if you ever want to switch it over to 3ds Max or Maya or something like that, which is great.
And I wonder about network rendering on it, how that's going to work.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you have to buy an additional. It goes with. I believe you have to buy an additional one for a render machine.
It would be really nice if you could at least have something as a render node.
Yeah, I know.
Just a daemon that runs in the background or whatever it is, and just...
Totally agree.
What do you have to have the whole plugin to do that? Or at least maybe a cheaper network render node that's like maybe a couple $100.
Yeah,
because
I
it's
agree.
not like you're using the whole thing on the other machine. You just need the graphics cards.
Yep.
If those graphics cards were in your computer, you'd be able to use it.
Yeah.
But from what I'm hearing, like, it's basically all the goodness of Arnold with all the ease of use and viewer of Octane, and plus GPU, obviously.
So I absolutely, as soon as I opened it up, like, I felt like the sky opened up and the angels were singing, because it's very different than Octane. Like the GPU, the fast rendering and stuff, absolutely it's there, but the layout and the materials and stuff like that are pretty different. I felt like I was using like V-Ray or Arnold again.
Yeah.
Like I felt really at home with it because I've done some Arnold tutorials and I was in V-Ray for a really long time, and Redshift it's a biased renderer, so you can say don't let this cast shadows, which is fantastic.
Yes.
It's something I wish Octane were able to do.
Or light exclusions.
Yeah, I believe so.
It's
basically
Octane needs that so bad.
Absolutely everything that you can do in a standard renderer, in the standard render you can do in this, and it's great. So I tested out volumetrics, and you can easily create atmosphere and stuff like that. That stuff was killer to me. It was way killer. And what's cool is like you can set so you can set a light and you can tell it to cast volumetrics, and then you can set up another light and tell it not to cast volumetrics in the atmosphere. So you can actually light something and then put some, I don't know. It's way cool. It's super really cool. So I haven't had a lot of chance to play around with it, but like I was really excited actually getting my hands on it and getting to play with it. It is a very, very cool render engine. And it produces a really pretty picture. Now, the biggest thing that I think users will have to get used to is big time node based. Like it's big time node based. So like you've got your standard, if you're just making like a color or something like that, cool. I mean, you can mess with the reflection, the reflectivity, the roughness. The roughness looked really cool on this one in comparison. Like it's a really nice Fresnel. It's like I don't know. I don't think I've ever noticed really how Fresnel works in real life, but like basically you see it much more crisp the closer it is to the thing it's reflecting, and like falls off a whole bunch, gets super blurry. And it looks nice. Cool. But the node-based stuff, yeah. So if you're wanting to add like an image texture or something like that, you have to actually go through the node-based stuff, which that may change in the future. This is, like I said, this is just the beta. So there's a few things that I've noticed, like you can't drag and drop a material directly into the path for the texture, which I'm hoping they change that. But yeah, it's a real nice render. The fact that it's biased, I actually don't. I mean, I don't mind.
Is it fast? Like, have you?
It's super fast.
Have you put a big scene in though to try and see just?
I mean, I've been working with my standard scene that I've done with Arnold and V-Ray and Octane. It's my office scene that I created, and so I mean, it renders just as fast as Octane does. The one thing actually, David pointed this out when we were playing with it. You can't, how whenever you hit play on the timeline, you can kind of see a really crappy quick version in Octane. It waits until your camera is still or whatever before it actually starts rendering, which is kind of a shame. But not
a deal breaker though.
It's not, and I didn't even notice it at first, until he pointed it out. But the I forgot what I was going to say.
I rarely even do that.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. But it's fast. It's very fast.
So,
very nice.
Okay, here's my question, I guess. Can you see stuff happening? So you can't see stuff happening like while you're dragging a camera around. Because that's one thing that I like about Octane is being able to move stuff around on the fly.
Keep in mind, it's still in a beta, you know?
Yeah.
Here's the one thing, like, say this versus like, say Corona or something like that. Like, this is a really solid beta. Like, I didn't have any crashing at all. It didn't feel like a beta. It felt like a really highly polished, renderer. So
kind of like the Octane 3 beta that was out. I really didn't have much crashiness with it. It was pretty solid for the most part, I felt like.
I don't know. Ever since Octane 3, all my computers have been crashing. I think it's just they're all running hotter.
They're overheating.
Yeah. So... But yeah,
well,
Redshift, it's going to be, I have a feeling it's going to give Octane a run for its money. Like, the fact that it is a biased renderer is and I've always thought, oh yeah, you want to stick with an unbiased renderer because it's going to give you the most realistic look and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, okay, yeah, it's going to react the exact way that light will react, but really the unbiased version gives you so much more control over your lights and everything like that,
Right.
So I don't know, I really like it. What I've played with so far, I really like it.
Yeah, I can't wait to check it out. Physical Skies Library C4D. You brought this up this week. What is this exactly?
It's basically, I think it's just a guy who, oh boy, I gotta look at it. He did a, it's not on that. Okay. Anyway, it's a bunch of physical skies that he had done. I downloaded it and it's in a lib file. You just throw it into your lib file and you've got all these individual skies that he's created for you. It's cool. You have to sign up to for his newsletter in order to get it. But as soon as you do, he actually sends you a couple other things that he's created for free too, which is pretty neat.
That's cool. So we'll post a link to that. I'm always looking for good skies.
Yeah.
I always need different types of skies. Some with like, nothing like under the horizon. Sometimes with stuff. Reflections, all that kind of stuff. I'm always looking for good ones. So. And we'll post a link to, because we talked a lot about Apple last week, and it seemed like a lot of people felt like they were kind of in the same place we were with Apple. But there's this guy who wrote an open letter to Apple from the actual working pros, and it's a great article. And you'll just have to check it out and give it a read. It covers a lot of the stuff we talked about last week. But one thing we didn't mention last week that I didn't even realize at the time is the MagSafe adapter thing is gone. That's the dumbest thing ever. That was the best invention they ever made.
Absolutely.
Why would you get rid of that?
I don't know.
You know how many times I've tripped over the cable on my computer and been like, oh, good thing I had that. Or I would have bent it.
I'm right there with you. I actually read an article. So, I've got this extra computer just laying around. It's brand new in the box, hasn't been used. I read an article the other day that said Apple has finally, you will now officially have to buy everything from Apple. You can't, it is now, you are unable to upgrade it, any of their laptops now, because they got rid of the version that I had, Right. And they're like, yeah, this one is actually running pretty well. Like, people like this version, the ones that I have 3 of them. They like that version the most because you can buy it for really cheap, because it only costs $1,000. And then you can get really cheap RAM. You can take out the CD-ROM drive. You can put in an SSD, and it's actually faster than the ones that they're selling now.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, but we'll post the link to that as well. And here's the big news of the week is the new Titan X was announced. This is the new one that's Pascal architecture. It is 11 teraflops, 12 gig.
Nice.
It is also $1,200.
Jeez. Would it be a better deal to get how many CUDA cores is that? 3,000 something?
I want to say it's 35 something or other.
So which is better if you were going to buy two 1080s or one Titan X?
It's 35.
The 1080s are 8 gig, right?
The 1080s are...
Or are they 6 gig?
No, they are 8, I believe.
Because the 980s are 6.
Yes. Let me look up how many CUDA cores in a 1080 Founders. And it's not all about CUDA cores, of course.
Well, it is with Octane, right? That's basically your processing speed.
Yes, but also you need the VRAM for your scene itself, and that makes a big difference too. So here's a comparison here. Like the 970 has 1664, the 980 is 2048 CUDA cores. 1070 is 1920, and the 1080 has 2560. So this one has like 1,000, give or take, more CUDA cores, which that's a pretty big deal.
And how much is the 1080?
The 1080 Founders Edition is what, like $700 something, I think.
So you're paying $1,400 or something for like 5,000 CUDA cores versus
but there's so many other variables. I mean,
I don't know.
You know, if you're working with large scenes, you're going to run out of VRAM easily, and
let me ask you a question. Does it only use the VRAM from the first card?
I believe it uses. What is the rule? What's the general rule? Someone's probably yelling at me through the stereo, but I think the general rule is that it only uses the card with the least amount of VRAM or something. There's some variable that it picks up on.
And I've been wondering about this. Like, they tell you don't have to SLI, or it's probably not worth it to SLI. What if you did SLI? Would it use any of the RAM from the previous one?
No, it doesn't work that way. No, it actually, I've heard it slows it down to SLI the cards.
Oh.
With Octane.
Okay.
Not with anything else, of course. With everything else is fast. But you got to keep in mind that the Titan X is not just for Octane. So, I mean, this thing is way, way better than the 1080 in all aspects. It's just, you may or may not want to buy one if you're just doing Octane. That's a tough choice. I mean, $1,200.
Yeah.
Or you may want to do a scenario where that's your main card and then the other ones are your secondary cards.
Yeah.
Something like that, because there's just so many other variables. And I'll just go over some of the specs here. They got a video and stuff. I'll post a link to all of this in the show notes so you can check it out. I mean, like for gaming, this has just got to be just insane.
On the 1080s, you don't actually have to SLI them with a thing anymore, right? You can actually, what is that? That's just a setting now, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I believe you still have to connect them.
No.
It's just that you can unconnect them without pulling off the connector.
Oh, that's cool. You should do that and then try out Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, I know, man. I need to, and I want to try the Oculus Rift on it.
Yeah,
it might be. I'm not sure because I just haven't had a reason, and I haven't looked into this. It might be that. I mean, the name of the motherboard that we got here has SLI in it. I don't know if that means that you can SLI them without connecting those pieces. I have no idea. I don't know much about SLI because I don't use it.
Yeah.
So I can't say. So I was just looking at some of the stats on this. It's the same number of CUDA cores as the Tesla P100 GPU. The one that's really expensive, used for all the deep learning stuff that they are always talking about. It says it's using a different chip, though, with previous Titan NVIDIA has simply taken its biggest chip and given it a prosumer makeover, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. Those hoping for a return of the stellar FP64 performance of the original Titan may be disappointed here, although NVIDIA is pushing the card's 44 TOPs of INT8, a measurement of neural network. Here's the problem. I don't know, when it comes to all these stats on a graphics card, I don't know that much about it because I don't use those other features as much. You know, I'm not in it for the gaming. I'm not in it for the deep learning. I'm not in it for the complex calculations or DNA sequencing or whatever people are using these for other reasons. I'm not Bitcoin mining with it, you know? And so for me, it's just a matter of, okay, let's compare prices on these cards and let's see how many CUDA cores they have and let's see what their Octane bench score is. And whichever one makes the most sense for this price is probably what I'm going to buy. So, and it's all based on how it's going to render. Yeah. This is genuinely a way better card in comparison to 1080, but I probably wouldn't buy it for Octane.
Yeah. I mean, the fastest Octane machine ever built was the what was it? 10 980s? 980 Ti's?
No.
Or was it 17?
No, it was 7 it was 7 Titans.
Was it 7 Titans?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure someone made a better one with 980 Ti's.
No, it was the 7 Titans that Tom made.
Oh,
I thought with the Octane bench score of
I thought it was another one that Tom made.
I'm not sure. I thought it was anyway. I thought it was the one that he sent me.
Maybe.
The thing is, like, even Tom, like, he's like totally about the Titans.
Yeah.
You know, and he even hinted when he was telling me about this stuff, he hinted at, you know, a possible new Titan X coming out soon. I think he had insider information.
Yeah.
But again, I just, you know, maybe I'm missing something, but I just don't see a reason to buy this to do Octane stuff right now.
If you got the money and you want to spend it, you want top of the line. Some people do.
I mean, unless you're really working with some just crazy complex scenes, you know?
Yeah.
I could see, like, if you were using this to do like those trillion polygon scenes like Trevor Kerr is doing, stuff like that, maybe something like that. But I mean, it's awesome and it's got some really good applications, but maybe not necessarily for what we're doing. So, you know, I'll be interested to see it on, I want to see a bench score.
Yeah, totally.
That's for true.
That's for true.
So, what else we got here? Let's go into email and social, and we're going to get out of here.
Sorry, it's a little shorter. We still love you.
That's what she said. All right. We got one from David Brodeur.
Yes.
Shout out. What's up?
I love that guy.
You Dude, responded.
That guy
is
awesome. Like, he is one of my favorite artists. He does those, like, the globby, meshy thingies, you know, the pulsing... I call them the pulsing globby things in the email that I sent him back, but they're so cool. They're so cool and so, like, I was showing my wife, she goes, ew, those are disgusting.
It's funny.
Oh, man. It's like, if you can get that kind of reaction out of someone, you're doing something right.
That's cool. Yeah, he needs to come be on the show.
Yeah,
for sure.
I told him he does.
He said he was actually talking about when we were talking about World Machine last week. He said, I was listening to your podcast today. You were talking about World Machine and kicking out the displacement map from it for Cinema 4D. And the downside is you can't actually see the mountain in the viewport since the displacement is a post effect. But then you mentioned the displacement deformer in Cinema 4D was glitching. I had this happen to me as well. And now I kick out a reduced mesh from World Machine as a reference that I have invisible to render, and also kick out the displaced texture. Here's a screen grab of the nodes. So he sent like a node layout and everything. So I guess that's might be why I was having that issue, is I had like this super high res displacement. I should have just done another one that wasn't as, because mine was super high. I think it was I want to say it was 8,000 something by 8,000 something. It was 8K basically, because that's the maximum you can do in displacement in Octane.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just probably too much for the displacement deformer to handle.
Way to go, 3ds Max.
I know. And Jack Cole said, learning Cinema 4D. Hi guys. Firstly, I want to say I love your podcast. I recently landed my first MoGraph job. And
congratulations.
And I listened to you guys after work on my long journey back home. During my time at uni, I always used Maya, but because of my new job, I want to learn Cinema 4D. It's not required that I know for my job, but thought it would be an extra string on my bow, and it would help me for when I decide to move on to another job. Have you guys got any good tutorials that you recommend or tips? Thanks, guys, and keep up the great work.
Tutorials that we recommend.
All of them.
All of them.
All of ours.
Yeah.
For starting out, it's really old, but I did do an intro to Cinema 4D. I'd love to go back and revisit that now that it's actually a thing. You know, like I posted the Halloween thing that we did for Brograph, and it's still a cool little thing that we did, but it's so old, and it's just like, this is before Brograph was like a thing. Yeah, and we had like a crappy logo that we just threw together in like an hour, and you know,
still using the same music though.
Yeah,
at the beginning of every episode.
See, I think that would be a good point of discussion, because I feel like that's our brand now.
Man, see, that like, but brand. I've always wanted to like do something a bit more upbeat, like beanie doo 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 doo. But you don't like punk rock, so you know.
Lame. I feel like that is kind of our brand now, though, and so I would like to know from people if we change the Brograph song, if that would be something where it just doesn't feel the same, or if like that's the sound of Brograph, and don't change that.
I don't know. I sure hope not.
I mean, it's not the best thing in the world, but when you hear that now, it's like, oh, it's time for Brograph.
That's true.
It's this
I don't know. We need mystical, some great like, welcome to Brograph Podcast, starring Dave Koss and Ben Milstead.
No, we don't need any of that. We had that on Urban Coffee.
Yeah, you did.
Just very, announcer vomity.
I don't know.
Thing.
It sounds very professional.
Yeah, it sounds professional, but I don't know.
Anyway,
so check out those. We've got a lot of stuff like that, especially our earlier stuff. There's some stuff we got into with Espresso and all that, and it's just a lot of basic stuff and a lot of it's not shiny, it's not polished, it's not anything cool to look at, I guess, is the main thing. We just really got into the basics and dug in, and it doesn't, when you're done, it's not something that's cool that you'll probably want to post anywhere. It's just, okay, I learned how to do this crazy thing, and that's what you're going to get out of it.
Yep.
You're not going to have anything to post to your reel or
who are some of your favorites, or some of the other ones that you like? Like, I mean, of course, Grayscale Gorilla. Grayscale Gorilla is going to give you a ton of information. They have a ton of stuff.
That's what I was raised on with Cinema 4D.
Yeah, totally. Mount MoGraph, he's one of my favorites. I think he started doing tutorials about the same time we did. And I don't know what he did, but he shot up to fame, way faster than we did. Like, I wouldn't call us fame.
I don't know that I have watched any of those.
His are good. His are very, like... it has beautiful graphic design, So his have a great design to them, and he shows you a lot of really cool stuff.
When I was really trying to learn cinema, it was all grayscale, and I think one of the first ones I really probably did was like the 7-Up tutorial. He hadn't been around that long at that point, and I started learning, and after that I really have fallen off from doing tutorials, and mainly it's like, if I do a tutorial, it's when I'm looking for something online and I need to know how to do something, and I Google it, and I don't care who it is, I don't know who it is, I don't save it, I just go, what do I click on? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
and I'm
same
done.
Here. Yeah, I mean, and I think everyone reaches that point, or I was trying to figure something out, and I was like, okay, I remember which tutorial this was, or basically it was a NAB talk, Right. It was the video game one, and so I wanted to, and I just fast forwarded until I knew exactly where it was, The NAB talks and the SIGGRAPH talks, those are awesome. Those are great resources.
Those are really good.
I think once you've gained a bit more knowledge and stuff, and aren't just learning the ropes, once you get past the ropes, watch the SIGGRAPH and the NAB talks, and they are excellent. They are great resources because you're straight up learning from industry pros on how they did some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and then Sage sent us something.
Yeah,
no feedback on the real guys. Is it that bad?
You don't have to read this.
It's because he sent us a reel, and I thought we had sent something back, and I don't know. We had talked about the rest of the email probably on the show, and I had watched it, and I guess I just forgot to write back. So sorry about that.
Yeah, I wrote it back. I felt really bad. I felt awful that
I thought we had said
here's
something.
the thing, I don't know. Dave's the email guy. I don't know what I am.
You're the 140 character guy.
I am the 140 character. You are so right on that.
I sit there and write full blown emails back to people.
Yeah. Dave is the email guy. I'm the short and to the point guy.
And you just write back at so and so. Lol.
Lols.
Lols. Or send back an animated GIF or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess maybe I'm more of the marketing, and you're more the, I don't know, client relationship something. I don't know if that's the case. Anyway, so I thought David sent the email, and apparently we come off looking like jerks because it's like neither one of us actually sent an email back. And Sage, we love you.
Well, a lot of times we save all of this stuff for the podcast. Sometimes we don't answer at all because we answer it on the podcast. So I may have just forgotten to send something back on that or something because we talked on the podcast, and I just figured that we did. But
yeah.
But he did have a topic for us, which is, do you think the industry is becoming pay to play with all these plugins and stuff?
Which he also mentioned the super depressing episode that we did about failure. And if you have listened to that one lately and have gotten really depressed, I would like to apologize personally.
I think that was a good episode.
Here's the thing. It was a good episode because everyone goes through it. Everyone fails at some point. So it's good to know that other guys or girls or, people, or what's the Zims? Is it Zim? Other Za?
Z goes through this a lot. I don't know.
It's good to know that other people go through this, but man, that was a depressing episode. Like everyone that has sent emails about that, it's so depressing. Anyway, so I apologize. But hey. Anyway, okay, so what was his pay to play?
Pay to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't exactly even know. You were saying that this is like...
okay, so the way I understood it was, because we had talked about, he had talked about his reel and stuff like that, and he's like, I don't have any Octane or Arnold stuff on it, and I'm worried that when I'm sending this out, that's what people are looking for. And I'll be the first one to admit that, when I got Octane, I was blown away at how realistic it was. That I could not create the same quality in physical renderer or standard renderer as I can in Octane, because Octane just makes it look better.
It does make it look better.
It looks much more realistic. Like the very first time I just threw in a texture node, of some material, like fabric and stuff onto a couch model, I was just blown away at how much more realistic it looked. But he was mentioning not having any of that on his reel, and he's worried that people aren't calling him back, or that he's not getting calls because of this. And he's wondering whether this industry has become a pay to play where basically if you want to if you want to produce great stuff, you got to buy the plugins, and you got to buy the big stuff, and you got to buy, and you got to buy Luminous, this great plugin for Octane, created by Brograph.
Here's the thing. Like, that would make more sense if Octane was like $10,000.
Yeah, but still, like,
because here's why. Because if you're using how much did we pay for? How much is Cinema? $4,000 almost.
Yeah, $4,000. Okay. It's like $3,500.
35 something. 39 something. Whatever.
$34.95, I believe.
And okay, so if you're paying that much for that, it would make sense. Like, because here's the whole thing with pay to play. It's a privilege thing. Like, you're privileged if you have these other things. Well, that makes sense if Octane was like $10,000 and everybody had Cinema, but not everybody could afford to get Octane. But it's cheaper to buy Octane than to buy Cinema 4D.
Yes, it is.
But, so it's a very small investment relative to the actual program.
You say that, but like, I can't just run Octane on my laptop. I can run Cinema 4D on my laptop.
Of video cards and stuff.
Right. So you've got to purchase these video cards, You can buy a $800 Mac Pro Tower, 2010 Mac Pro Tower that'll upgrade all the way to Sierra. But if it just comes with a standard AMD card or standard, whatever card, you can't run
Even if it is an NVIDIA card, it'll run, but not well.
Right. So, like, the thing is, you have to upgrade your hardware, and that can be expensive. I mean, we just bought a new machine. It was $5,000,
Right. But the thing is, you could make one for cheaper.
You could make one for cheaper, yes. I mean, we have 4 cards in there, You could have 1 card, but still, like, you're still having to invest in money in that. Plus, you're having to pay your licensing fee every year if you want to upgrade to the newest version, which is $650. And yes,
you could
have all
like
write-offs
really
at the end,
one,
but
though.
Still, like, yeah,
you
I
could
know
have
that.
A cheap Octane machine that still renders faster than physical render.
Right, but the thing is, like, we've got, some are starving artists where they're just like, trying to make it every day. I mean, I'm not the best at my budget. I know I'm almost always strapped for cash, and spending $2,000 or $3,000 on a bunch of equipment is hard. You've heard me talk, because we're selling our house and we've moved into a different house, and like we're paying double bills, and having to pay for a storage unit and stuff like that. And I don't know if I've talked about it on the show, but like, I can't even afford to buy like just a new hard drive for myself, personal hard drive to upgrade some of the stuff. And, some people just can't do that. I don't know.
Look at the 980, for example. The 980 has gone down in price, and then plus they had the deal going the other day. It was like $200 and something to get one of those. All of these things are going to go down in price relatively soon, to where you can get entry level into Octane for a few $100s.
Yeah. I mean, you still have to buy the plugin, I don't know.
You still have to buy the plugin, but you have to buy Cinema.
We're talking about like pay to play. So if you want that Octane, love, if you want it to look that good, if you want it, you still have to pay the money,
You do have to pay the money, but I don't believe that paying the money is the only thing that you have to do. That's the other thing about pay to play. And this has happened in a lot of industries. This happened in the recording industry for sure. Our buddy Hal, he ran a studio. That's he employed my friend Seth, who I used to do the podcast with. And then his studio just wasn't doing well, because this was at the point where you could start going into an Apple store and buying a laptop with GarageBand in it, and all of a sudden you have a full-blown multi-track recording studio in your house, and nobody wants to pay him anymore. And especially, like, he made a lot of money off of local rappers and stuff, because they all wanted to come in and do their beats and flow to their beats and all of that stuff. And if you could just go to an Apple store and spend the same amount of money you would spend in the recording studio and get that and go in, but and that they start going out of business because of that. And then he ended up going to the place where I met you working at, which was random. And because then I got a job there, and I'm like, hey, I know you, but like, what happened to your studio? And that's the thing. But the problem is, let's say that there were 100 rappers that were going to come through that place that year. I guarantee you that if 90 of them didn't come through there because they went and bought a MacBook instead, once they got it, yeah, they could mess around with it, but I bet you that 90% of those would have had a lot better product if they just would have spent the money to go to someone who knows what they're doing. Now, when you go to something like this and you talk about Octane, like, you buy Octane, it doesn't mean you're good. It doesn't mean you know anything about lighting. It doesn't mean you know anything about camera moves. It doesn't mean you have any creativity in your body whatsoever just because you paid the money.
Yeah, but like, if you create a, scene full of shiny spheres, with displacement on it and some blurry reflections, that's going to look... If you just throw whatchamacallit? Oh gosh, a landscape and throw a texture on it, throw one of the 3D scan textures, with a shiny sphere in front of it. I mean, or with some subsurface scattering, you throw that together, that looks like freaking Beeple, artwork or something. And then you're like, oh, let's add some animation to it. It's really simple, and it looks beautiful. And
it does look beautiful.
You couldn't get that without like spending hours and hours of time rendering in the standard renderer.
Right, but that stuff looks cool and whatnot. But when it comes down to making money off of it,
right?
Let's be honest here. Like, you got to know what you're doing.
Right.
You can't just throw things together and be like, hey, check this out, pay me money, because people will be like, what?
When it comes to like building your reel and stuff like that, if you're competing against people who have this type of stuff on their reel versus like, using something like physical renderer, standard renderer, it's like,
well, and even I'll tell you this, even Sage, I've seen him say this all the time in the Cinema 4D subreddit. Because people ask this all the time. Do I have to have Octane? Or how do you guys get this to look like this? And it's like, you can make stuff that looks just as good with physical render. It just takes time. It takes patience, and it takes a long, long time to render.
So if you're willing to pay the money, you can get much better results much faster. So in a way, it is kind of pay to play,
Yeah, but I still feel like, man, you have to know how to tell a story.
Yeah, you do.
You have to be
but
able
not
to...
on a reel. Not on a reel, you don't have to. On a reel, it's all about pizzazz. It is all about making yourself look so much better than you actually are. I
don't know, man. I feel like... I talk about this all the time. I'm like, everybody wants to copy Beeple, and then so therefore you go to Behance or something, or you go to these Instagram accounts, and everybody just has Beeple knockoffs, like all the way. You just look, every picture looks the same, because that one's copying Beeple, that one's copying Beeple, that one's copying Beeple, and I get tired of seeing that same style because it's his style.
Yeah, but still,
I've ran this to the ground, but it's his style. It's not their style. They're copying it. And how many times am I going to look at this same thing over and over of all these copies of copies that everybody does?
It doesn't change the fact that it looks cool.
It looks cool. I'm not debating that. But if I'm hiring somebody, I don't want to see 1,400 pictures of shiny spheres in front of a landscape. It just doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It means jack to me. I want to see practical application. I want to see creativity. I want to see good camera moves. I want to see knowledge of lighting and just something cinematic, or, there needs to be variety. I don't feel like if somebody sent me a reel full of Beeple stuff, I'd be like, well, your stuff looks like Beeple. That's good. But what if I asked you to animate a logo for me? What if I asked you to create a product for me from scratch based on a photograph? Can you do that? What if I asked you to do an architectural render? What if I asked you to do this camera move? Would you be able to do that? I wouldn't know, because it's just shiny spheres all the way down. I just feel like there's, I get where this is coming from, but I think that with pay to play, you still need talent. And those people could use that talent. If I saw a reel that didn't look as good, if I saw someone with good camera movement and good technique and good storytelling, and they were using physical render, I would be more likely to hire them than somebody who just had shiny balls on their reel made in Octane.
Yeah. By the way, I'm 1 hour away from winning my my Beeple toy.
On what is it, eBay?
Yeah.
Nice.
So, buying one of the old Beeple toys that Beeple named himself after.
That's funny. Oh, all right.
I don't know. So, that's like, I think it's going to be another one of those things where we agree to disagree. You know, kind of like the do you put a
right, but
someone else's logo in your reel?
Right, but so you're saying if somebody had 100 shiny balls in Octane, that you would hire them over someone with good camera technique?
No, there's a difference between abstract and, practical. While some abstract stuff is very cool, practical is also, you need to have a balance of both in your reel for sure. But like if you have the amazing Beeple-esque quality in your reel, yeah, totally. And you only get that, you can get that easily by paying a bunch of money in order to do it. And you don't have to have a whole buttload of talent, I don't know. Like, maybe it's...
But you don't have to have that much talent to do it in physical render either. It's not that different.
Yeah, but you're spending a lot of time. Like, change the lighting a bit. Render. Wait 10 minutes. Okay, change the lighting a bit. Render. Wait 10 minutes.
Yeah, but you've also got interactive render regions and stuff like that. You can get pretty close with something that easy.
I don't know.
Like I would like, that's the number one thing I look at is camera technique. When I see somebody post, this is always the thing. Cinema 4D subreddit. Somebody posts, "Hey, I'm pretty new to this, but I just posted this thing. You guys tell me what you think." And all they're doing is trying to build something that they think is spectacular for their first project, but they have paid zero attention to the camera move. They've put hours and hours and hours into building this new thing, and then they put the crappiest camera movement on it imaginable, and it's like, you just ruined it.
Yeah.
It's ruined.
What is that
You've
from?
Ruined it.
I'm assuming The Simpsons.
No, it's Family Guy.
Family Guy,
but
okay.
It's ruined because they have this jerky, awful camera movement, and the camera comes in and it comes toward the thing, and then it swings around, and then it swings back, and then it does a stupid thing because it's not a targeted camera. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you got to learn how to control your camera, man. This is like, dog, like, look at some stuff, examine camera moves and other things. Look at camera moves on TV. Look at camera moves and other animations. None of them have this awful camera movement where the camera comes into the logo and then it stops, and then it hard pans to the left, and it has no easing, and then it like swings around and does this stupid thing, and the logo comes at you and back because it wasn't targeted to the camera, and you're like, wow, you spent 8 hours on the logo and 30 seconds on the camera move.
Yeah.
You should spend a lot of time on camera moves.
Yeah.
Like, even the stuff we're working on right now, like, I spend a lot of time. They're very simple camera moves, but like, I'm working on, on easing and F curves and all of this stuff to just get these perfect camera moves right now. And they're simple, but I'm spending like 30, 45 minutes getting this like perfectly crafted camera move that looks exactly right and has the right lens on it, and it's got the right focus, and the rack focusing is happening at the right time. Like, I'm spending a lot of time on that, and I'm not just slapping a camera on something and making it wave around and linear everything, and
yeah,
I think that technique is way more important.
Yeah. I don't know. Reels are reels are something that like I always think it's got to look pretty, you know.
Of course,
it's got to blow you away.
Of course it does, but I'm looking at the secondaries more than the primaries, I think.
Yeah.
When I watch a reel.
Yeah, I know, because you're more technical.
Yeah.
I'm more visual. I don't know if that is actually true or not.
All right.
Anyway,
well, let's do some more emails. We're gonna get out of here because we got quite a few more. This is Jeff Franco. Says, "Hey y'all, huge fan of your podcast, and I work over here at Discovery VR."
Yeah. Shout out Discovery VR.
VR, yes. Jeff here from Discovery VR. Huge fan of the podcast. It gets me through the workday, and it helps us at Discovery stay up to date with the industry. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Recently, Discovery partnered up with O-Toy, freaking O-Toy. So pumped about that. We started using Octane in our two PCs.
These specs kind of blew me away.
Quad 1080, dual Xenon 128 RAM. So quad 1080, that's like what we just built, basically.
128 RAM. That's crazy.
That's pretty cool. Dual, it's pretty good, I guess. Well, RAM's pretty cheap.
Yeah. I've only got 16 gigs in both my machines. And I really need to update.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Once I sell my house, dude. It all comes down to once I sell my house.
True.
Once I sell my house, I'm rich.
And then dual 980 Ti single Xeon 128 RAM. We're still learning about the settings and fine-tuning, but love everything so far. If possible, we'd love to talk to you about optimization, all things Octane, workflow, etc. As well, we're located in Silver Spring, Maryland, close to DC, and would love to chat with David Ariev about possible partnership, mentorship, or just to meet up, get beers or sour beers and chat. Anyway, keep in touch, bros, and keep being totally rad.
Thanks, bro.
First of all, you should.
I forwarded that to David.
Okay,
by the way.
Good.
Yeah.
I told him we were gonna tell him about that, and plus he'll hear this on the show too. But you should go see him at the road show. First of all,
I think I'm gonna go.
When is that?
The 9th. You want to go?
The 9th.
I found tickets online for Virgin Airlines, $175.
I got something going on the 9th. I can't.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to go.
That would be fun.
So if you guys want to hang out with me at the C4D Roadshow in Washington, D.C.
Aren't you going to be out of town right before that?
What? Are you judging me? Because I'm taking vacation time?
You can take like 2 weeks off. Okay.
I got to take 2 weeks off.
Because we got a gig that weekend before.
Yeah, but it's just the Friday. And then I'm coming back Saturday.
We'll be in Denver. We should see if
EJ
wants to meet up.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're going to be. So what else was I going to say? Oh, yes. So we've actually had, and this is what I said in my follow-up email, is that we've actually had a lot of people ask us about Octane workflow and especially the optimization type stuff. Some clients we're working with right now have actually said like they want us to come in and like teach them about that stuff and how we keep our poly count down and how we work with each other and the whole workflow thing. And so we're excited about that. And so we would love to talk to you guys about that. And the other thing I asked him, I haven't heard back yet, is if he knows Greg Sears, because he actually lives in the same city and works for Discovery Networks. So I'm assuming they know each other. I'm not sure how many people work at that place, but he was the stage manager on the Oprah tour when I was on the Oprah tour. So I knew him from that. And actually, I think before they started doing the VR stuff at Discovery, he actually called me up and was asking me a little bit about it, if I had done it. And, because they were trying to get into it and all that. So I'm guessing this is kind of a new area that they're getting into. So would love to talk to you guys about that. And if you do know him, tell him I said hi on the show.
Cool.
It's pretty cool. And then we
got a lot of emails.
Oh yeah, I know. I love this.
Yeah, you guys are fantastic. Thanks for bringing in the emails. Oh, hey, did you do you have this in there? Sorry about the t-shirt giveaway.
We have to do the giveaway. That's right. That's right.
So we had one other person give us a review, and so I did the thing random before the show. Generator. Yeah, I did a random number generator between 1 and 2.
And that's why I was like, you could have just flipped a coin.
Yeah, I really could have. I don't know why I did the random number generator. Hold on, now I got to look up the and
we got a much better response last time we did that. But dude, the numbers, oh my gosh, like we gained 4,000 subscribers last month.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah, you guys are really. So the winner of the t-shirt contest was Sly Coupier. So
Coupier?
Coupier. So anyways, yeah, Sly, hit us up. I know I've seen you on Twitter or something like that. Hit us up and we'll get you. Are we going to do both the Paul Babb and the other one? The other one, or are we just doing the Brograph one?
Your choice. You tell us
your choice.
Which shirt you want.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you. I got off track and I was really excited about that one. I didn't want to forget.
We're to Kevin Lords now. Sent us a music video that he just did. He says, "Hi guys, I've been listening to your podcast for the last 3 or 4 months, and it's amazing. Thank you very much. 55 and 56 especially have been illuminating on the hardware, GPU stuff, render nodes, etc."
Those two are two of my favorite ones. I felt like the one with David, and then the last one we did were absolutely great.
Well, it's cool covering that stuff, and it's really nice too because I feel like we are able to cover a lot of areas. Software, hardware, just geeky stuff in general. And I don't know. I like that. I like that we have different things that appeal to different people. And I think the cool thing too is if you're a hardware person and you're really into the hardware, and then you listen to another episode, maybe you'll get into something that you weren't into before because you hear more about it, And so he says, "Thank you for the tutorials, and hopefully I can make it to DFWC 4D. Even though I'm up here in Kansas."
Man, that would be killer. Yeah, that would be totally killer.
Sweet. Just wanted to share a music video that I made for a Dallas band called Ishi.
I believe it's Ishi, yeah.
I used Cinema 4D, After Effects Particular, and edited in Premiere. I'm a novice in all these things, only actively using Cinema 4D since about this time last year. Prior to Cinema 4D, I used Photoshop, processing.org. I don't know what that is. And when I started this video, I didn't have a clue about anything from how to light a scene properly or what physically accurate fall-off shadow options are or how to use the compositing tag and stuff like that. He says, "I wish I could edit the video a little knowing what I know now, but still..."
Isn't that always the case?
Yes, yes, totally. And he says if he ever has a demo reel, he'll send it over. So
cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a cool video. It's very, it reminds me of Kid Mograph, very the 80s Kid Mography type stuff.
Dude, I saw those, those Facebook things, those Facebook videos that go around, they have no voiceover and all the text is in like yellow and white and it says this so-and-so did this thing and... It's like a little newsy type thing. Well,
was
somebody
it the
did
one
that
with
on Kid Mograph?
This guy motion tracks a whole bunch of real life environments or something. Yeah, it was cool.
I want to say this thing.
I want to say Kid Mograph tweeted it or something. They're like, "Oh, now you're internet famous."
Yeah. So then we got Perry Harovas. I hope I'm saying that right. This is right. Former Maya guy.
Ah, yeah.
Better known as, it's kind of like what's the like the Half-Baked movie?
Yeah,
Black Ass. You don't remember that?
I mean, I've seen Half-Baked a couple times.
He goes to his drug dealer. And when you go to the drug dealer, you have to have somebody that like something that they recognize you by. Not just your name. He's not going to remember your name. He's going to remember you for something you do.
Okay.
And so he turns around and pulls his pants down, and the guy remembers him as Black Ass, because that's his thing, right?
Which scene is that in Half-Baked?
It's when he's talking about going to his drug dealer.
I don't remember that.
The guy doesn't remember you, you know? So the thing is, like, when we, like, all these people who write in, we have regulars who write in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, there's certain things about some of them that are attributes. This is the guy who did this, or this is such and such guy. So this is
the Maya guy.
Former Maya guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, black ass. He says, hi, David, Matt. I hope you have been having a great fall season. This is my favorite time of year in New England. What's Texas like in the fall?
Hot.
90 degrees.
Yes. Texas in the fall and winter is awful. Like, it's so bad. It was really hot the other day. It was like 90 degrees, and today it was like cold and rainy, you know? And you can never count on anything. Last year, a tornado hit my house day after Christmas.
Yeah. But then it was also cold the day after that. So it's just like...
cold and rainy for the next 3 days. Yeah, it was awful.
You
got
never
a big
know.
hole in my roof and water damage everywhere. Anyway, I'm selling that house this week.
And you're sick all the time because it's hot and then it's cold and then it's hot and then it's cold. So
yeah,
but
sinus infection.
I like it
everywhere.
I don't like snow.
I love snow
for more than a day, and so after that I'm sick of it, and so I like living here. He says, so I'm pretty stoked about the Octane and Unity announcement that came out this week. Octane for free inside of Unity is pretty sweet, especially when you can export a Limbic out of Cinema 4D and import into Unity and do all your materials there. Or, like we said, export those ORBX, and everything should come in. Not quite as good as having it inside of Cinema 4D, but a great potential workflow for secondary workstations. I'm wondering why they didn't implement Brigade, though. And this is what we were talking about, too. That's the real-time path tracer that's supposed to be inside game engines. What's your thought about that? I think that they're still working on it, number one. I think that's way down. I mean, if Octane 3.1 is where it is, like we were talking about, Brigade is probably 5 years away at this point.
Yeah.
There's just so much that has to be done for it to work online.
We'll check 10 years into the future on the next yearly annual birthday episode.
They're concentrating on it a lot. They're working a lot on it. I just think that, like, the amount of processing power that's going to have to be in the cloud, and for what they're working on, it's just going to take them a while to get to that point, and it's probably not ready yet. I get it. There's no reason that it should be ready yet. It's a lot of work, and that will get there. And it's going to be really awesome when it does get there. But for now, they're implementing what they can, which is Octane.
I'll tell you what. I used, so I bought, speaking of games and, you know, Octane and stuff. Anyway, I bought Star Wars Battlefront, the newest one, for Xbox. It was on sale for like $30. And, you know, I've got it for PC, but I've never actually opened it. So I started playing it the other day. Holy crap. That looks so realistic. Like, there are parts of it that are super realistic. And, like, you know, I didn't play games for the longest time. And now getting an Xbox One and playing all these games, man, it is amazing how far they've come since PS2 when I was playing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the Xbox One, man, is just phenomenal.
Yeah, it really
is. Graphics are great.
NES Classic is coming out next week, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it comes with 30 games. Nice.
Yeah, see, I built my own Raspberry Pi with literally thousands of games on it.
You know what? I built a Raspberry Pi with a whole bunch of NES games, and I hated it because there was a lag between all the Bluetooth stuff. Like, you didn't feel like you were playing a realistic game.
You could get a USB controller for it instead.
Blech.
Yeah.
Blech. Anyway.
You know, they're good for consoles anyway. I mean, you know, PC Master Race is what it's all about. But, you know, sometimes it's just it really comes down to convenience.
Yeah.
It really is convenience sometimes of just sitting down and just picking up a controller. You know, I feel like I'm always messing with settings and junk all the time when I'm trying to get Grand Theft Auto to work on my PC and all that.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto on the PC is hard to get to work. I don't know.
Because you'll change a setting and then you bring it up and then like the frame rate isn't right and it's a little stuttery and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna go back, and then you change it and then it has to restart in order to
I remember
change it, and then sometimes the restart time on it is so long.
One time you and I were gonna play GTA 5 And I remember it took us like an hour and a half before we could finally get started.
Yes.
Or you were trying to get everything hooked up for like an hour and a half, and then we finally started playing like around 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
and something crashed, and then we had to restart because we got disconnected from each other, and we were
awful.
Like, that was Black Friday.
That was when we were both running Macs as PCs.
Right.
Ugh.
So anyway, he says, on a side note, I've noticed a lot of people wishing to jump off the Maya bandwagon these days. Autodesk makes me scratch my head and wonder why they would do many of the things that they do, but this is just people deciding on their own to abandon Maya. I guess they are finally waking up. In other news, I've been using Houdini for a long time now, and think one of the things that constantly gets overlooked is the power of Turbulence FD inside of Cinema 4D. I used it extensively in a project last year, and I'm struggling to get the same quality from Houdini Sims in a reasonable time frame. I love Turbulence FD. Like, it's really sweet.
I've never messed with it. I need to.
It's great. It's really great. It certainly has power and flexibility, but it is very slow. I think talking about Houdini Sims.
Yeah, Houdini.
Thought you might like to know how Houdini compares in production to C4D, which we have licenses of Houdini. We've worked with it a bit.
We have licenses of Houdini that we rarely ever open.
Just not enough hours in the day.
Nope.
Really excited for Turbulence FD2 after seeing a preview online at last year's NVIDIA GPU conference. I did not see that. I would like to check that out.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, Turbulence FD has been around for a long time, and their website even is, like, you go to buy it, and, like, it's this clunky old website, and I don't know. And he says, that's all for now. Take care, guys. And then he wrote a follow-up. He said, I forgot to mention, I'm presenting at the Maxon booth in New York at NAB East this week, which is cool. I will be giving 2 presentations. They're Wednesday and Thursday, November 9th and 10th, both days at 12 noon. Should be a lot of fun, and there are many great presenters doing demos both days. If either of you or any of your listeners are going to be in New York for NAB East, definitely stop by Maxon booth and say hello.
Yeah.
Great show, guys. Take care.
Hey, you're the Maya guy.
Former Maya guy.
Former Maya guy. You know, anytime
but don't walk up and be like, black ass.
Oh my gosh, please do. Please do. You know, anytime someone asks me about Maya versus Cinema 4D, I always quote him. I say, yeah, Maya's great, but there's 3 different ways to do hair, and none of them work together, and blah, blah, blah.
And the guy who wrote the book on it is abandoning it. So,
yeah.
All right. Anyway. Then we had a couple tweets. Matt Gerards said, listening to the podcast, and you read my tweet about building the PC with my son, and he heard it, and he was pumped. Thanks for the mention. When we love you, Matt, interruptions and all. Hashtag haters gonna hate. Hashtag Skype lag.
Skype lag.
Gaten D.
Yeah,
Simone
so now you can show him this one, you know, and so you can freak out about this one.
Yeah, and then write us something about that. Yeah. And then we'll read that one.
It's basically just a never-ending cycle that we'll go through.
Yes, it's mention inception.
Menception.
Broception. Hashtag.
Anyway.
Gaten D. Simone says, awesome podcast this week. Good to hear I'm not the only one let down by Apple.
Gaten, big shout out, by the way. Like, your illustrations are looking fantastic.
Yes.
Like, all the stuff that you've been throwing up on Twitter, man, those are looking so good. We got to do something together, like a cartoon or something.
And Paul Robinson says, getting the Bab on today. Feel the Bab t-shirt. Rocking the Feel the Bab t-shirt.
Thank you for supporting Doctors Without Borders, because all the sales of that t-shirt go to Doctors Without Borders.
That's right. And Otoy was like, what else can I help you with?
Oh my gosh, freaking Otoy.
That's what's funny. You say, we're talking about transparency and all this, and they're like, well, what else can I help you with? How about everything?
I want to say, I responded, can you let us know when 3.1 is going to be released? And then they didn't answer.
Or maybe even what quarter it's going to be released.
Right? It's like I'm mentioning all this stuff like, hey, you know, you're off of your time frame. Maybe you could just tell us. And it's like, what else can I help you with?
Well, whoever runs that Twitter account can't do that. You know, that's the problem. I know. You know, it's got to run up the chain. But that's the problem, is that, like, the person at the top doesn't care about us.
Nope.
And they care, they're I think that they're really concentrating on Brigade and all these deals with HBO and all this other stuff.
I don't know.
They don't really want to give us.
I worry that they've got. See, this is another reason why I'm kind of excited about Redshift versus Octane. Like, Otoy has so many hands in so many baskets. You know, it's like, which one is going to be awesome and help them, you know, push their numbers forward, and which ones are going to be just the ones that get left behind. And right. I really worry that, you know, we're going to be the ones that get left behind.
Right.
Anyway,
we'll see. You can email us, Brograph at brograph.com. Please send in topic ideas, whether it's about business or graphics or maybe about productivity or whatever you could think of. This would be a really good week for it because we're recording early. So between now and Thursday, we probably won't have much on our list of stuff to talk about.
Yep.
So if you're listening like in the next couple of days, please send us topic ideas. That'd be great.
We're going to do a movies and music episode here pretty soon.
We are?
Yeah, I've determined that. We're going to get David on to do that one with us, and maybe I'll ask Chad Ashley if he wants to be on it as well.
Because I am not good with the... I don't know anything about movies. I don't watch movies.
What's the last movie you saw? Dude, I saw Interstellar for the first time. Oh, it was so good. That was such a good movie.
The last movie I believe I watched was Sausage Party.
Oh, you actually saw it?
In the theater.
Was it bad?
It was awful. I talked about it on the show.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Dude, I watched...
It's fine for a DVD release, but don't watch it in the theater.
The actual Westworld movie. And here's what's funny. So it was written and directed by Michael Crichton, the same guy who did Jurassic Park, right?
Wrote it, yeah.
Who wrote Jurassic Park. It is basically Jurassic Park with robots.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It is basically Jurassic Park with robots.
Sense. Yeah.
You know? And like, it was awful. It was so bad. And so they had like two different worlds in there as well. They called the movie Westworld, but they had also like, you know, Middle East, or not Middle East.
Different worlds and stuff.
Yeah. They had like a Caesar, an ancient Rome, and then they had what's the... It's not Middle East. Oh my gosh, it's Middle... Anyway, it's
Middle
with
Earth?
the knights and the
Middle
round
Earth.
table. Not Middle Earth, no.
Medieval.
Gosh. Yeah. Not Mideast. Anyway. So yeah, in like that version. And I'm curious if they're going to bring those into the show.
Yeah.
I'm really worried about the show. Like,
I don't know. I'm digging it so far.
Yeah, it's a great show, but they're talking about like having 5 or 6 seasons, and I'm like, I am worried that I'm investing all this time and it's gonna end up being like Lost.
I don't know. We'll see.
Because I cannot afford another Lost in my life.
I don't know, but that intro, every time I see it, it's like, oh, that's Octane.
Yep.
In fact, they showed it on the Otoy presentation with Unity. When they were talking about it, they were showing that. It's pretty sweet.
Have you noticed in the show that they do these piano versions of contemporary songs?
Yes, like Radiohead.
Yeah, that's really rad.
Cool. It's in the like, it's they're playing the piano, the piano.
Yeah,
I said piano, not piano.
Is that from The Simpsons?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Now that was from a Halloween episode.
Yeah.
He forces Homer to play the piano in the little like Western bar, and he's just playing regular piano, and he shoots at him, and he's like, "I said piano, not piano." So it's like piano version of, I forget which Radiohead song. It was something from the OK Computer album, I believe.
Yeah, and then they also did I see a red door and I want to paint it black.
That one too.
That was cool. Yeah, that was very cool.
Yeah,
I don't know. I have a feeling that the show's gonna let me down.
I don't know.
I hope it's got HBO money behind it, so it's great. You know,
most HBO shows are pretty good. So you can also rate us on iTunes, leave a review. We love the reviews. Keep them coming. Mm-hmm. You can also subscribe to us. If you're not subscribed, we have a newsletter you can subscribe to as well. We send out very rarely. Mm-hmm. You could say you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt with the No Brograph, No Moograph tee, or you could get the Feel the Bab shirt, and the profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders.
Also, if you're an Octane user and you're looking for a spotlight, make sure to check out the Brograph Luminous plugin.
That's right.
Yeah.
We got videos, and we got a video that's kind of an overview, and then we have a video that is like a how-to video as well, which is online, and you can watch that. If you really want to learn more about it before you buy it, you can watch the instructional video. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube and Brograph.com. And I don't know what happened with our Twitch thing. That guy never...
seriously.
He didn't show up for our meeting. And I said, what happened? And he didn't answer me.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
See,
really
it was just a spammy email, I'm sure. Look at this. Again, we're saying that it's going to be a short show.
I know.
We're at 1:53 right now.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I need to hit that guy up. Hold on. Did I send him anything?
You're going to email him right now while on the show.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, I'm recording a podcast right now. WTF, mate?
Still want to do the meeting? No, like it was set up. We were supposed to have this meeting with the Google Hangout. He sent us the info 45 minutes before, and he said, here's what we're going to do.
Wait, he sent the info 45 minutes before and still didn't show up?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. That's stupid because, like, I mean, if he had sent it a couple days before and just been like, hey, babe, I could understand that. But literally 45 minutes before, it's like, dude, you set up a meeting. You better show up. Anyway.
Oh, this is interesting. Apparently, when I said what happened, I somehow sent it to myself.
All right.
That's
You're
weird.
Tired, dude.
No, when I sent it a while back, I don't know how that happened. So he never did get my email asking what happened.
Oh, well, maybe we're now the jerks.
Yeah,
dude,
but he still didn't show up for the meeting. Time change is
awesome. It's only 11 o'clock. Dude, you got time to edit this for tomorrow.
No.
All right, cool. Well, is that it? Or we're just gonna listen to you send an email real quick?
Yeah, there we go. Okay. I sent that out because I really do want to like work something out here with Twitch if that's possible.
Yeah.
So.
All
right.
Cool.
Well, that's it. Until next week. I'm Dave,
and I'm Matt.
Have a good one.
Later, bros.
It's pretty good, I guess. Brograph.com, an online resource for learning critical components of Cinema 4D and After Effects, specifically catered to help you prevail as a motion graphic designer.
What's up, bros? Welcome to another Brograph motion graphics tutorial.
We give you professional time-saving tips, shortcuts, and lessons that help give you an edge over your fellow designers. Not only this, but our new Brograph Talks help you in your file management, hardware configuration, and client relations.
I love projects that scare me. When our art director comes to us and asks for something that I had never done before, man, it gets me pumped.
Join us for live sessions, check out our crazy Cinema 4D experiments, or just watch our Fun with Brograph series, where we show you practical applications for techniques learned in previous tutorials. Do this from the beginning, and your client is going to respect that, and they're going to respect you, and they're going to respect your time. Subscribe today and get automatic updates on the latest tutorials, tricks, tips, and inspiration brought to you by industry professionals Dave Koss and Matt Milstead, all with a slight dash of dry humor peppered in. Real nice banana.
Brograph.com, your source for tutorials that will help you thrive in the motion graphics industry. Don't just play around with Cinema 4D and After Effects, master it, and make money by becoming indispensable at your workplace.
We don't care how you get here, folks. Just get here. Subscribe now to Brograph Tutorials. It's pretty good, I guess.